what to do. If you like these videos, we encourage you to subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up, leave a comment below so we know where you're watching from, how you are being blessed by these videos. For those who have been following me for a while, you already know this space is not so new to us, but some of you might be seeing him for the very first time. So for those who are like first time they're seeing you, could you tell us your name and a little of your story?
Yeah, I'm Daniel. I'm from the U.S., from California, and I've been volunteering here in the Philippines for over 6 years now as a missionary.
Nice. All right, so Daniel is basically a helicopter pilot, mechanic, paramedic, fixed wing, so different things. And we would say he has various skills. And if you have not seen Daniel's story, we will put a link to his story, various versions of it, where you can get to know him a little bit more. And we're just gonna ask you a couple questions here, Daniel. Like basically, you're still young, obviously. How did you set out to be a missionary pilot? Like for those who might not have the time to watch your full story, could you share in a nutshell how you ended up in the Philippines as a missionary pilot?
So to make a long story short, so yeah, as a young person, I really had no vision to become a missionary. My goal was just to get a job, work and the rest, just like most everybody else does. Trying to find a career that fitted with my interests and my skills. But to make a long story short, I attended Bible college for a year, and during that year, God kind of shifted my focus, and I realized that life was about ministry. I came across a quote basically that hit me and said, no matter what one's calling it in life, his first interest should be to win souls for Christ. So I realized my goals for life were not with ministry and money, and so that kind of reshifted my focus towards a ministry-based future, and that kind of led me to turn to.
Oh, nice. Why the Philippines? I mean, you could have gone to so many other parts of the world. Why the Philippines for you?
Well, I was open to wherever God called, but my specific skill set was helicopter pilot, and there's not a lot of ministries in the world that fit that specific skill set. This is the doors that I would just like to serve, and so I'm happy to serve here. There's a lot of need here, but yeah, I wasn't open to that.
Okay, since the last time we had an interview with Daniel, you were single. We know you got married now.
Yes.
How is that for you so far? Like a lot of people, like pilots in particular, once they get relationship marriage, it affects their flying and their career. How is it for you and ministry now that you're married?
No, it's been a blessing. I think the number one things that has to be a priority in any relationship is finding out your future callings and life directions, and that they're in harmony with each other. So we had a lot of discussion about that before, and I think with my wife, it's full-time ministry, and so thankfully it's not like she's pulling one direction and I'm pulling the other for our life.
And is your wife an asset, and in what area is she a part of your ministry as a missionary pilot?
Yeah, so she is a nurse as well as she just graduated medical school. And so, yeah, she's a blessing in that she can go on flights with me and also take care of patients that come to our base and assist in that medical ministry.
Oh, wow, awesome, guys. The average missionary pilot is married to a nurse. I'll give you that much. So that's nice. I've been following you for a while now. You just posted your latest newsletter. Some amazing things that has been happening. Would you like to share some of those things with us?
Yeah, it's just been a really, really amazing journey. Your T-shirt there, it says "Flying by Faith." Well, I would say my time in the ministry has been a faith building experience. I started out with just stepping out in faith for my own personal support, and it has grown to encompass various projects for the ministry, up to a helicopter, now supporting a helicopter, and it has been a faith stretching experience, to say the least. But it's amazing how God has continue to provide as we step out. And one of the more recent things that has happened is, the helicopter is very different from sometimes the airplane ministry in that helicopters are much more expensive. And even though they serve a vital need in areas where airplanes cannot fly, the cost is really high. And so, we've tried different things to try to make the ministry self-supporting in different ways. And with the new to us 1959 helicopter that came in, it has a turbine or a jet-powered engine, and the operating costs grew exponentially. The hourly cost to operate that. And so, we tried raising the suggested fuel donation amount from patients and different people that we from the medevacs, etc. And we realized that most of these people, they really, really struggled. Even though they were not coming anywhere close to covering our costs, we just asked them to chip in for the fuel and stuff, but they were not able to even do that. And we realized that even though we made it very clear to them, if they have a medical emergency, if they cannot afford anything, we'll still do our best to fly. God provides. But I think they're ashamed, whatever. They basically started calling less and less and less. And we realized, well, we're here for ministry, but the ministry is the ministry. And so I was talking to Dwayne, our director there at PAMAS, and both of us were convicted of the same thing. Well, why don't we try a faith test? Why don't we step out and tell the people, even if you can afford practically nothing, if you have that need, have the emergency, we'll still fly. And even though we had already always told them that, but it was like a reiteration of that. We said it in their minds. And so it was kind of, there's a lot of unknowns in my mind because fuel is extremely expensive operating costs. And I don't have a lot of good donors to support the day-to-day operations in helicopters. But we stepped out of faith and we're like, well, let's do a test. Let's try it. And if God provides the fuel every month, we'll continue to operate that way. The rest we can do is go back to the other way. And amazingly, so the first month after I did that, started the faith test. I had a friend named Jasper. He came down, and he's also a filmmaker, cinematographer, and he came to film some of our work. And among other projects, including education and school projects, he highlighted the helicopter ministry. And amazingly, people were blessed by what he posted, and they were inspired to give. So this last month, all the fuel was covered from donations that came from the videos. And God knew ahead because then I found out that the insurance for the last half of the year was due. So the donations that might have gone to our fuel during the month ended up going to insurance. So God timed that perfectly. And then this next month, the second month after the faith test, I had a supporter who contacted me, and they told me, they were like, I've been impressed. I really want to support your ministry. I've been inspired. I want to put a matching fund out there. So basically, a matching fund challenge open until Thanksgiving Day. So if your donations accumulate to $10,000 by Thanksgiving Day, I will match that $10,000 and double it. Wow. And so that's open, that's ongoing now. And to me, more than anything, it was just a confirmation of God saying, "Oh, you're going to test me? You're going to test your faith? Right. Just watch." Here we are 2 months into it, and God is already opening new doors, new ways for the ministry to continue that I had never planned. The Bible says He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think in Ephesians 3:20. And it's just been amazing to see God do that.
Wow, those are amazing news, guys. So I'm just thinking here. Basically, you've been flying pretty much for a while now since you have gotten that Olivet helicopter. I've seen missions like, I'm sure maybe they might want to know as well. There was that particular time when he was filming you in action and you had that pregnancy situation where someone had given birth. Do you mind sharing a little of that experience with us?
Yeah, always there's ups and downs in this. Sometimes in life, it doesn't always turn out as we wish, but that's the reality of life. And we had a pregnant woman who delivered in the helicopter. and most likely the baby had already died before we just picked her up because the education on the island and the family, they didn't really understand, and they were actually pushing very hard on the mother's belly to the point where the baby stopped moving even before we picked her up. But it was a cephalopelvic disproportion. Basically, the baby's head was bigger. It was too big and difficult to come out. So they called us at the very last minute, and yeah, the baby didn't make it, out of bed. So that was a very sad, sad time. But we have gains, we have losses, we have people that live and people that die. But it's the nature of it.
But was the mother's life also at risk in that situation? Like, do you think getting her out?
Oh yeah, I mean, getting her into the hospital is definitely a blessing. You never know what complications can happen. So at least she was able to get her control.
Yeah, that's one of the struggles I have too, where sometimes the ray of hope for them is not so much for me. Like, we like, man, wish the baby had lived or something, but then they will tell you at least she can live, survive, and maybe have another baby again. And this time it might be more prompt in, calling you guys a little bit earlier, hopefully. So we're in a pandemic situation now. A lot of people are losing work and jobs, etc. You mentioned that you launched out on another level, faith-based, to basically serve, irregardless of whether the people can meet you halfway or help themselves, etc. How has it been like for you, flight-wise, since the pandemic, and also the support since the pandemic is happening?
As I mentioned, in regards to the support, I've seen God step in amazing ways that we weren't expecting. So I think God is not limited by pandemic, certainly. As regards to flights, I would say it's actually lessened. People are more afraid to go to the hospital. They're afraid to get quarantined. They're afraid to get COVID. So that's the sad thing we see. Sometimes we see serious medical conditions, and people refuse to fly out. People tell them you need to go to the hospital and see a doctor. Sometimes we are able to do something small for them, or if we can help them without them going to the hospital. Sometimes we're limited in being able to do that. Even though we would prefer them to go to the hospital, they absolutely refuse. So we just do what we can for them instead. But it's definitely affected travel. A lot more travel restrictions, a lot more protocols, limitations, etc. But the ministry has continued, so it's really amazing to see how God keeps the work going no matter what.
Oh, praise the Lord. So, on outside of flying and fixing airplane and helicopter, etc., from an individual standpoint, being a Christian, how are you surviving as a missionary? What keeps you going personally on an individual basis?
Well, of course, all of us are here for ministry. We're not here for money. We're not here for anything else. Otherwise, we'd be long gone. And ultimately, our relationship with God is the only thing that keeps us going. The ministry stretches us. There's always challenges. There's always personality differences. There's always all different kinds of challenges. But if we are confident that we're where God has called us, and we're stay faithful to that calling, then God will help us through the challenges.
Amen. That's good. All right. So, we really appreciate Daniel coming, but I'm sure individuals watching this video might be thinking, you mentioned there's a $10,000 goal, and if you can maybe go past that, and it's between now right up to Thanksgiving. So say individuals going to be watching this video, they're thinking, how far are you into that? How can they help to contribute a little, or they might know individuals who might be open to the idea of helping. How can they reach you to find out where you are with that goal and communicate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a variety of different ways people can give and donate. Perhaps the best is to give my email address. That's pilot4him, the number 8 at gmail.com. So that's PILOT, the number 4 HIM, the number 8 at gmail.com. And I can share different ways if they need a tax receipt, if they America, for online, or PayPal. Actually, my PayPal is associated with that same email address. But there's a variety of different ways, or if they want to help a different PAMAS project, whatever. Just send me an email and I can share that info.
All right, very good, very good. So, as it relates to the support system, what exactly, like, okay, from now to November, you have that goal, trying to reach that by encouraging people to partner with you financially, etc. Where does that money go to?
It goes into a variety of different things. Of course, a huge aspect of the ministry is helicopter fuel, maintenance. Helicopter parts are expensive, so a lot of it goes to there. We have vehicle upkeep that we use and work, of course, day-to-day support and needs, food, whatever. And then there's different ministry projects from time to time. So it's kind of really helps the ministry.
All right, very good. You also have some young individuals who they are inspired by seeing someone your age, maybe they're thinking about mission aviation, they would maybe like to get a start, they're not sure, etc. Is there anything you would like to share with, say, young or old aspired missionary pilot to begin the journey like you?
Of course, number one is your relationship with God. That is really what will carry you through the journey to be a missionary pilot once you become so you will continue. And number two is training, your education. Um, if you really feel called to this, then you become as well trained and well rounded as you can possibly become. Don't stop at the bare minimum, but get as much as you possibly can. And I'm not speaking about just aviation, but all skills. God uses every skill in ministry. Before I came, I did a variety of different things. I did emergency medical training. I did random stuff like welding, um, just basic maintenance skills, and all of that comes together as useful in the ministry. So the more skills, the more different assets that you can bring into the ministry, and the more useful you will be.
All right. Well, we're very grateful that Daniel Lui has, Providence opened up and he's able to come and share with us his updates. You guys have heard it. Amazing things are happening, guys. The Lord continues to provide in spite of the pandemic. Daniel was single, now he's married, and the partnership is good because they go on the flight together. She helps out in the medical area with patients and medivac, etc. So I hope you guys were inspired. We thank you for your prayers. We thank you for your support. And as often as we have the opportunity to sit and share with you guys updates, again, you can reach out to Daniel, pilotforhim8 at gmail.com. That will be on the screen. Send him an email. And one thing I like, guys, it's some people might feel like, oh, I don't have money to give. But you know what? Personally, for me, I really embrace an email or a private message to just say, hey, how are you doing? I'm praying for you, be encouraged. So we're not just asking for financial support or material support. Encouragement is also a blessing because we have those down times when the pressure is real and the struggles are real. And it's such a blessing to get an email from someone saying, you inspired me, you encouraged me, I'm praying for you, etc. So you can even send that over to him. Thank you guys very much. God bless. Mabuhay from the Philippines. And that's Daniel Lui, sharing with us updates from the helicopter aspect of ministry here in the Philippines.